Sometimes in life, you got to make it to the sunrise. And you got to hold on for dear life sometimes.
It's a good metaphor, dude.
You got to make it to the sunrise. And that's what the race gave me. It was like, because when the sunrise fucking hit, it was like, okay, it's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm excited. It's really cool to see the setup. It's awesome.
Thank you, man.
It's really kick-ass. And you've told me about it. I've seen pictures, but being here in person, totally different experience.
Dude,
and I'm beyond impressed, man. So
thank you, bro.
Blessing to be here.
Far more than I deserve. Trust me. Yeah, trust me. Bro, you and I got connected, I mean, a while back, but not that long ago. We got pretty tight pretty quick. We realized we share a lot of the same values, a lot of the same views on things in life. We both happen to be crazy motherfuckers that like running a lot and shit like that in recovery. But, dude, how did we, you were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, but how did we get connected?
Well, I think we got to shout out Philip Spear.
Yep.
I think Philip was the first person to hit me up and basically say, he's like, hey, do you know this guy? You need to connect with this dude. He's like, I think you guys have a good bit in common.
Yeah.
And I sent you a DM, slid in them DMs, and he, for the audience's awareness, he replied back really quick. Like It was like a couple seconds because I think he liked me a little bit. But either way, we went and met. We had tacos, great conversation. And we're like, all right, let's go for a run. Let's go to the gym. Let's stay connected. And so we went to the gym. We went on a few runs, longer ones. And actually, it was a blessing. Got to have you on the podcast. And so that's kind of been the experience so far.
Yeah. Dude, it's been really cool for me to kind of sit where I'm at and watch you go. Just watching you do this 100 and shit like that fucking gets me excited. I will give you 100% credit. I would not probably be running again today if it wasn't for you. But it takes a lot to get me motivated and shit. And these past couple years, I've been motivated in the gym. I don't need any motivation in that part. But every time I'm out about in town and I see some of my running friends or all that, they start giving me shit. And I'm like, I joke around. I say I'm retired and all that stuff, bro. But I got connected with you. We met and I started running and it ain't stopped. So thank you because you motivated a man that's pretty hard to motivate. So I appreciate you.
No, for sure, man. Like I appreciate that. And it's easy though to show up for somebody like yourself.
Thank you.
It doesn't take work, right? You want to be around people like you. At least I do. And I think it fills my soul too. So it's never been, it's been a blessing because it's never felt like I was giving. Right. It just felt like I could be. And I think in life, as you grow, you start to connect with people that is the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's back and forth, right? It's reciprocal. It's healthy. You don't feel like you're sacrificing everything just to be a part of their life. Like it's really, that's been the experience with you. So it's my honor, dude.
Right. Thank you. So just so the audience knows, I mean, first of all, if you want to know Trip's story, you want to know more about him, he's got an amazing podcast. I've been on it. It's called Ain't Dead Yet. He's got some badass motherfuckers on there. Please check it out. But just for their knowledge, do you want to give a little bit of your backstory and, you know, kind of what got you here today?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, you know, I think everyone's story is loaded with a million different things once you reflect back and do the work. But high level, like 30,000 foot view, grew up, especially in the 90s, in a fairly regular life, right? Yes, divorce, yes, these things, but fairly regular. Would go to college, play football in college. I started partying at like 13. That would transition into college. Really didn't get into the hard drug game until I was probably 24. Mm-hmm. And then once I got a taste of that, everything just went deeper and it spiraled really quick. But it took me forever to come to terms with it and actually admit to having a problem because my professional career was still growing. I was still, you know, taking leaps in my professional career and people were celebrating me. So I justified everything that I was doing. And eventually it caught up to me, not through legal troubles or any of that. I looked in the mirror one night on my 30th birthday and it broke me spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. And that was my bottom. Right, it wasn't sitting in the jail cell. It was none of these things that you hear. It wasn't wrecking a vehicle. It was that night in the mirror. And so the next morning I woke up, I was 312 pounds, and I was like, I'm going to go run a mile. That's where it all started. Mile took me 16 minutes and 37 seconds.
Damn, you remember the exact time?
Yeah, I still got it locked in my phone, man. It's in my files.
Really?
I get tired. I don't want to go for a run. I remember where it all started. And the deal I'd made with God is, I'm either going to go further today or I'm going to do it faster.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the first 90 days of my recovery. That's what it was. And I applied that to AA. I applied it to everything. Like, I'm either going to, it was all about growth. And so, I probably lived on a pink cloud, honestly, man, for a couple of years, just chasing that, doing Ironman stuff, running, building business. And then my dad died September of last year. And that's where my life really was like, okay, we're going to lean into our purpose here. We didn't get sober to just be a businessman and have a house. Like, we got sober to be of service. And a close friend of mine suggested a podcast, and that's where we went. We jumped in both feet. That's led to speaking engagements and all these different things. And so now my whole life is kind of centered around Ain't Dead Yet and helping kids. I think it's so important that we go after the youth. Versus like, and I'm not saying like 50-year-olds can't get help. I would never imply that. But if you can connect with the youth before it gets too deep, we have a much better chance of having success. So that's become my primary focus. And that's how I'm here today, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Bro, you and I, dude, there's so many similarities in what we do just between Ain't Dead Yet and I Am Redemption. You and I, we've been on runs and we've both sat there and talked how, like, we see where our trajectory in life's going. And, the regular 9 to 5 is just not doing it for me. The money doesn't mean shit to me and all that stuff. Like, it's really about helping people, bro. That's you. I know you get that. And I know we both are very, very blessed into being in a unique position to be in a spot where we can use our experience to help people and for people to actually pay attention.
Yeah.
I've said it a million times. I didn't know a world existed where we could take all this pain, use it to help people. So it's a beautiful thing. I see you doing it, man. When you were first starting to get involved, I feel like you and I may have taken like people won't like hearing this, but an ulterior route to recovery. You're a 12-step guy, right?
Yep.
We did that, but in all honesty, I needed more.
Mm-hmm.
I needed that physical piece. I didn't know I needed that physical piece, and it just put all the pieces of the puzzle together for me. So I have to imagine, as similar as our stories are, as similar as we are as physically and stuff like that, that you've had those people that want to come to you and say, you're just replacing one addiction for another.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that?
Damn right. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm replacing my addiction with running, physical activity, service, being there for my family, being there for my friends. I've replaced my addiction to drugs and alcohol. The addict part of me is never going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I don't want it to. It's my gift. I can take that gift and I can apply it to so many things in life that don't just benefit me, but they benefit others. And so I don't take that as a negative blow anymore when people say that. It's almost like, thank you.
Yep.
You're right. Thank you so much for recognizing that.
Thank you for noticing.
I've replaced my addiction to drugs and alcohol with other things.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the recognition of that. So for me, it's never been, or it was tough at first when people would say that, but now it's more like, great, thank you. And I think 12-step, just for the record, and I've said this on my show, if anybody comes to me for help and they need to know where to start, that's the direction I point.
100%. Every time.
And I will every single time. Am I still actively involved in a 12-step program? No. And it's what you said. And this isn't a shot at anyone who still is involved with it. I think it's great. I wanted more. I didn't get sober to sit in meetings every day. I got sober to live, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, do I think that there's probably some flaws in that mindset? Sure. Like, I think that there's probably some times that a meeting would benefit me deeply. But if I found other or ulterior like ways to deal with that stuff, yes, I feel like I have. And so I don't care how you get sober as long as you get sober.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been my thing. That'll always be my thing. I just happen, like if someone comes to me, I'm always going to recommend that first.
Yep.
Because it's got the best proven track record.
Yep.
So that's how I stand on all that.
Right. Even though you're saying you replace one addiction for another, bro, I've been around you. I don't think you run. I think people that don't run or people that don't do physical activity hear that an addict is running an ultra marathon and they say that. Mm. But you and I think we both know that's very different.
Yeah.
If I was running like an addict, you know what I'm saying? Like my life would be unmanageable. I'd be running 4 times a day, fucking, you know what I mean? The wheels would be coming off. Since I got into the running community, since I got into the fitness community, my life has only improved. My circle has grown stronger. I'm around better people, and I'm around disciplined people that know how to push themselves, that know how to take it to levels that most other people aren't. And that's exactly what I want to be around.
Yeah.
You and I spoke, not long ago. I was going through a very tough time, and I'd kind of realized that my circle had changed. Work had gravitated me one way. I kind of got out of the running stuff. And so I just wasn't around the same people. Still good people, still doing good things, but just heading in different directions. Maybe different levels of intensity, different levels of an idea of what pushing yourself and stuff like that is. And so luckily I'd been there before. I knew what I needed. I knew I needed community. I knew I needed an outlet. And so first thing I did was get my ass back to running groups. And within days, I pulled myself right out of it.
Sure.
And so it's like, trust me, I know what it's like to sit there so fucking depressed. You don't feel like you want to get out of bed. But we had a woman on, her name is Dr. Abby, and she's TED Talk. She got her doctorate degree at 21 or 23 years old. The United States gave her visa because she's in the top 1% in the entire world of an expert at human behavior. And the way she sat there and broke it down is the terminology fake it till you make it. She kind of flipped it on its head, and she goes, I forget how she said it, but basically it's like, if you're depressed and all that stuff, good, feel it, fake the behavior, right? You don't want to get up out of bed, but get up out of bed. Don't, you know what I mean? Embrace the feeling, understand why you explore it and all that stuff, but don't let it dictate your actions.
Right.
Don't let it make you not get up out of bed or not go for a run, because you're just going to sit there in the same fucking place for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So you've been through some adversity as far as the running stuff goes. And so you just completed your first 100-mile race. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
You realize, what percentage of runners do you think will ever run 100 miles?
I Googled it. I think it's 1/1000th of a percent. Let's fucking go. Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
It feels good. It feels good on a personal level for sure. But every time I'm out there and I'm in this like deep, dark space, it goes back to service. I know that probably sounds like corny or cliche to folks, but like I've never been enough for me to keep pushing, right? Like I need exterior forms of motivation. And for me, it's become these kids in my hometown. And I know they're watching and paying attention. And so it's like, okay, I need to show them. I said it before the race on my Instagram, but I was like, this is to show the kids from my hometown that no matter what hits you in the face, you just have to take the next step. And so I leaned into that heavy during that race. When I was tired, I wanted to quit for hours and hours and hours. And it was like, no, you've stood up and told these kids this is what you have to do.
Right.
So you just do it. But yeah, it was my third attempt at 100. I failed two years in a row. So it took 3 years of my life, honestly, to get to the point where I could cross that finish line. So
one sec. I just want people to understand, when you're training for a 100-mile ultra marathon, it takes up a tremendous amount of your time. You're training every day. Your life revolves around that training, your mileage, your workouts you're getting every day like that. So to prepare this long for a race like that and to fail one time it's hard. To do it again, even harder. To go back out a third time, bro, that's grit right there. And then to fucking pull it off makes it just all that much sweeter. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It was the past 3 years have been hard. I've been sober the whole time, right, from drugs and alcohol, and
most people don't make it too, by the way.
Yeah, it's been tough, and it's been more tough because when I first got sober, I associated my identity and my self-worth on my ability to do hard things. And like I signed up for an Ironman, and 15 months into sobriety, I'd lost 100 pounds, and I went out and did this Ironman. And so I was like, I'm going to go do an ultra. I go and I fall short. It was a gut punch, right? It's like, well, you're really not that valuable, dude.
Wait, the 100-miler was your first ultra?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I just was like, let's go.
Damn. How far did you get?
60 miles.
Okay.
And
that's where shit changes.
It does. And
60 is where it gets real.
60 things definitely change. And then second year, same kind of story. And so I made a deal with myself after the second drop. I was like, look, if you're going to like do this again, and you need to put it all on the line, like all of it. And you need to approach it the same way you approached that first Ironman. The way I approached that first Ironman was like, I either finish or I die. or they'll pull me off, whatever. Like, but it won't be at my own decision or my own choice. And so I really put a lot into the training this year. Not that I did in the years before, but it was different, man. I mean, you were around for a lot of it. It was a lot of volume.
You were locked in.
Yeah. And it was months and months and months of that. And I learned a lot through that process, but I learned more in that 31 hours on that trail than I've learned in the last 5 years of sobriety. And that's not to knock the 12-step program. That's not to knock my therapy work or therapists. It's not to knock people in my life who've helped me. It's just that's what it gives you. You live your whole life in 31 hours.
Dude, in its rawest form.
Yeah. I mean,
everything's stripped away.
Yeah. You're chafed asshole to elbow.
Literally.
You've got to shit. I don't know how many times on the side of a tree. You're pissing on the trail. Like at the beginning, you're like getting off the trail to pee to be like nice. And by the end of it, like you're literally walking down the trail pissing.
Have you seen the people in the ultra running community that can piss while they're running?
I've tried, dude. And it just
everywhere.
Yeah. It's a mess. So I got to like stick away from that. But yeah, it is. You're in your rawest, most vulnerable state, and everyone around you is. And that's living.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You also get to see someone for who they really are.
Yep.
Like when all that ego is stripped away, all that pride stripped away, you're not out. Like I don't feel big and strong.
Nope.
I don't care like that I can bench press X amount of weight. Like all that goes away. There's no cockiness. There's none of that. It's like, this is really at that point, what it shows or exposes more than anything is your heart. Like the brain has to shut off, and it goes to all heart. And so like the people that are still out there grinding it out, it's because of their heart.
Yep.
And so for me, that's why I fell in love with the ultra space too. But you know, I never thought, even this year while I was out there, I was like, okay, like how, like, am I going to be able to live with myself if I don't complete it this time? And the answer kept being no. I don't think I can. Like, I don't think I can do this again.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, well, we're good. Like, we're like, talk to God. You take me, man. It was that conversation. It was like, go ahead, but I'm not stopping.
Yep.
You can take me. And I think once my head clicked into that space, it was just, sun started coming up, God started showing up, and it was like, it was on.
Right.
So, and that's a lot like life. You hit that bottom where you've got to make a decision. It's either I give into this and I know where it ends up and I know how it's going to make me feel for the next year, or I lean into this unknown that I've never experienced and I put everything into God and just see what happens.
Right.
Sun rises. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, ultra running's funny because people hear you do it and they're like, what? And you know, my races like went up immediately, like 10K, 30K, you know, and it just kept going up. And I remember I'd get done with a race and I'd get done and be like, all right, well, I'm good. No reason to ever run this far again. I'm fucking good.
Yeah.
And then whatever it is in us, dude, the next morning you wake up and you're like, what's the next distance?
Yeah.
I could do that shit.
Yeah.
And then it starts becoming a thing. And so, I mean, bro, you want to talk about ultra running was so big to me because, you know, kind of going back and not to bash the 12 steps, but when you're in the recovery world, that's all we do is sit there and introduce ourselves as Sean the addict, Sean the alcoholic, Sean the dope fiend, Sean the crackhead, whatever you want to say. And that shit just got beat into my psyche for years. So that's all the credit I'm ever giving myself. When you're in your first year of sobriety, you go run a 100K out in Bandera, Texas in the middle of summer or whatever. You start realizing you're capable of far more than you've been giving yourself credit for because you've been beating down your psyche saying this shit. Take yourself through a little adversity, find out what you're really made of. And so getting into that ultra running space, I kind of found out that I like to think like I'm a lot more comfortable being uncomfortable than a lot of people due to addiction, due to what we put ourselves through. And so, dude, I used to get the biggest kick out of going out there and running these races and finishing or beating these people or whatever. And I'm sitting there looking like, this dude has obviously been a runner his entire life and he's been doing this. And here's my ass, 4-time felon, kicked out of the military, fucking heroin junkie, somehow out doing this shit and beating you or running with you. And it's just like, God damn, man, like this was the confidence builder I needed in my life. What all do you feel running has given you?
Man, cliche answer again, but life. You know,
it's crazy you just said that.
Yeah, to oversimplify it, the day I got sober, I started running.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to do. I knew about 12-step program. I knew I should get into a meeting. I knew I probably needed therapy, and I knew I didn't need to drink or do drugs. But I didn't know what else to do. Like I needed to move. Like I felt just so stuck and so still in my space. And I went back to athletics, in high school and college. And when you made a mistake in a practice or in a game, coach makes you run.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well,
Punishment.
I've screwed up pretty bad, so let me punish myself.
Mm-hmm.
But what it gave me almost instantly was this ability to go back out the next day and show up and do the same thing or more and do it better.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does slowly is it builds this confidence in you. It's like, oh, I actually can grow. I can improve. Like I'm not always digging myself deeper into this hole. So running gave me a way out. And then we got to a point with the running, like there's multiple points during the story, but like my body would get into a place where I couldn't run anymore. I shouldn't be running anymore. And I would keep running.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was probably more on the addict side.
Yeah.
It was like leaning into that pain and masochistic on some level. But at some point it started to really transition to like, I don't know if I enjoy it to this day. Like genuinely, I can't sit here and be like, I love running. That's not going to come out of my mouth. But what I can tell you is I love what running gives me,
mm-hmm.
meaning like I have a run on the schedule. I don't want to do it. Half the time I'm out there, I'm bitching and moaning and cursing in my head and working through things that I don't want to work through. And then I finish. And then I'm driving home and it's like I'm a different human.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's what it takes for me to show up as my better self, then I'm willing to do it.
Right.
And so that's what running's given me is another tool, if you will, to show up as my better self. That's really the gift.
Right. If you're comfortable answering this, is anything off limits with you?
No.
So taking you kind of back to addiction and stuff like that. I know you talked about your rock bottom, but like at your worst in addiction,
mm-hmm.
what did that look like?
So my thing was always, my drug of choice was cocaine. I fell in love with that at 24.
Snorting, shooting?
I snorted it.
Okay.
I smoked it a few times too.
Coke or crack?
Both.
Okay.
I used to smoke coke through like parliaments, like the cut filters.
Yeah.
And then I smoked crack one time with a homeless guy in Nashville. Yeah. I was trying to find coke on Broadway. And
I had a homeless guy teach me how to smoke crack.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm talking to this homeless guy because they're usually pretty decent plugs, man. So they say that, but
they can always get shit.
Yeah, they know where to go at least, and because they just want to cut. So either way, I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, I ain't got no powder, but he's like, I got the rock, and I was like, at that point, that's how you know. Mm-hmm. You're like, sure,
yep,
hell yeah, like let's do it. And so I'm standing in an alley with a homeless guy, like smoking a crack pipe.
Yeah.
Either way, coke was my drug of choice. But it was like Coke had a codependent relationship with alcohol for me. That it was together, like they worked together. I never wanted Coke without booze. I never wanted booze without Coke. And so I'd say at the worst of my addiction, like quantity wise, is that what you're asking?
No, just paint a picture.
Great, yeah. So I'd get off work on like a Thursday night if we were off Fridays. This is when I was in like South Florida. It was probably South Florida and Atlanta was probably when it was at its darkest. But I get off. I lived in Fort Lauderdale, and
did we talk about this? I told you I lived in Pompano, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's where our office was at, Pompano Beach, Blunt Road.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I would get off.
It fucked me up. Crack's different down there.
Yeah, it's different.
It's flat slabs.
Yeah,
it's not rocks. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
In Nashville it's rocks, but either way, it's like I would get off Thursday, man, and I would tell myself this happened for 6 years straight. I would tell myself all week long, not going to happen this weekend, dude. Like you cannot do that again. Like wrecked you Monday and Tuesday. You were horrible. Like you hated your life, all these things. Thursday would roll around, be like, all right. Fellas are like, let's grab a couple beers, I'm like, yeah, I can do that, I get 2 in and the first 2 go down like, a minute and a half, right? It was like, I've been wanting it all week, holding out. And then it'd be like 2 to 4. Once I got to 4, bro, I was in my phone. Never failed.
Yeah.
And I was in my phone just like, well, if he answers, I'll go get it. If he doesn't answer in 30 minutes, I'm not meant to have it. The problem was if he didn't answer in 30 minutes, I just hit the next one. And right. So like I was going to get it. usually from Thursday night until Sunday at 6 p.m. was a bender for those 6-7 years straight. So
you had the ability to cut it off though.
So what I would do, I worked in like superstructure work.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say 80% of the time I could shut it down. My rule was 6 p.m. on Sunday. But that was highly dependent on how bad the shit I had done Thursday through Sunday was. If it was really bad and I had tons of anxiety around it, Monday wasn't going to happen either. I was going to continue to drink and use through Monday. So it was honestly like, when I look back at it, financially, again, this is why I think there's no excuse to not be successful now. Financially, I might have been making, call it like $1,000 a week, something like that, maybe. I was spending probably $5K a weekend. Like, that's no joke. Between booze, blow, strip clubs, that was my second love. Like, and if you ever needed it and your dealer wasn't coming through, South Florida, you just pop into a strip club. You can get it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so I would be there all weekend long. And I had all these credit cards that had these extreme credit limits. And I'd be in all the different clubs. And I was balling out, dude. But inside, I was completely broken. The last 4 months of my run, completely suicidal. Thought about it day and night. Mm-hmm. And the only thing keeping me from doing it was to drink or use.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the darkest times, too. But yeah, it's hard for me to really pinpoint a time that was like, this was the worst. It was all fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I sit there and there's so many things I can point out in my story, but more to what your point is saying, like, you grow up being told weed is the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Right? All I know is weed never made me want to fucking do blow. Weed never made me want to do all the fucking things. Every time I drank, though, that's when it's on. And so I tried to play the dance for a little while. Like, I'm an addict. I'm not an alcoholic. I can drink. And I could leave here today, go have one beer. I would be fine. I could go leave here today, have 2 beers. I could shut it down. I've never had a problem with alcohol like that. But I'll do the 2 beers thing for a while, and then eventually it'll be 3 beers, and then maybe 4. And then right around 4, that's where, like you're saying, fucking, all right, let's hit up the dude. Then I'm snorting rails off the back of the toilet. And by the end of the night, I will be slumped over with a needle in my arm for sure.
Yeah.
Now, my view is not what the same view of a lot of people in the recovery community or the world or whatever like that when it comes to weed, because all I know is it was as normal for me to wake up and shove a needle into my body as it was for a regular person to wake up and brush their teeth.
Yep.
There was never anything in my brain that ever flipped the switch that was like, oh, this is fucked up. I shouldn't be doing this. This is bad. I didn't ever think that. The rare occasions, weed just never got me where I wanted to be, especially as a young adult. I want to be fucked up. Weed didn't get me like that, and so I skipped over it. But on the rare occasions that I would smoke weed, it would be the only time where I would think rationally. And I would sit there and be like, what the fuck am I doing? Shoving needles into my body. Like, it would finally hit me. And so when I got sober, like, I just, people talk about it. And obviously, like, there's people that have problems with weed and stuff like that. But I have a tough time labeling it as a drug when it was literally the only thing that could make me think in a rational mind.
Yeah, I think it's totally dependent on the person.
Yeah, for sure.
My views on it, if you want to hear them.
Sure.
So I don't think weed's a gateway drug. It wasn't for me. Again, I never smoked weed and was like, dude, it's getting a ball.
Right.
That's never happened.
No. So let's get some fucking food and listen to a Nas album.
Right. Yeah, and just kick back until I freak out because the neighbors know I'm high. You know what I mean? Like, that was my experience with weed. But when I break it down in my head, the way that makes the most sense for me, marijuana became massively political for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of propaganda being pushed about how it's the gateway drug. That propaganda was being pushed by a specific political party. People bought into that shit, right? And started teaching it in schools. And like, as a kid, you're talking about, like, I remember that was the only conversation. It was around marijuana and how it's going to ruin your life. And it's this gateway drug. And if you start smoking pot now, you're going to end up doing meth. And I was like, okay, like, so it scared me, like, to be honest with you. But again, every drug I've ever tried was under the influence of alcohol. Every last one of them. So what I realized was, and this might be getting too wild and conspiracy theorist, but it's what I think. They had a problem with marijuana because for the longest time they couldn't tax the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the conversation around alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
It is actively fucking people's lives up.
Yep.
Period. End of discussion. And what are we doing about it? Where's the government charge to like end that? Like, you want to make the world a better place? Fix that fucking problem.
Mm-hmm.
You want to eliminate like massive amounts of drug use? Fix that fucking problem.
Yep.
It's this root, right? But they don't want to kill that root because guess what? That root's associated with a million other things that make people a lot of money.
Yep.
And so people need to realize that there's more at play than just like what you feel is good or bad. We're all in this system and we're being utilized to profit, right? For people to make money. And I know that's like crazy and wild to think about, but like people need to open their eyes to it because it's not, if it was logic, there would be a massive problem with alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not. So it's clearly not logic. There's something else at play.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
We're singing in the choir. Fucking this shit ain't never gonna change.
No.
But what are you gonna do?
What we're doing.
I know, right? Talk about that shit. Don't be scared.
Mm-hmm.
Dude. So all right. So taking you back to the race. Do you have a trail name?
I don't even know what that means.
You don't. Usually, you run by yourself a lot. If you ran with groups and stuff like that, you end up getting a trail nickname. Everybody getting a trail nickname. And it's usually something wild.
Yeah. Like clean eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be something crazy
Got
like
light.
that. But did you have, I know you had a crew and stuff like that, but did you have, when you're doing an ultra marathon, you're out there for hours upon hours upon hours, and you end up, you might run the same pace as somebody for 3 hours, and you guys exchange life stories, and then you get to an aid station, you never see them again, but for some reason, you're just bonded with that person for life. And it's because you're going through these tremendous amounts of adversity together. And so anybody that's seen my documentary, that gentleman for me was a guy named Detroit. He was my fucking angel on my shoulder, dude. We ran so many miles together, and then when the rubber met the road, and I was about ready to give up, completely delusional, slurring my words. My back is fucking, I couldn't even describe the pain that I was in, like a 2 herniated disc bone to bone. And so I was ready to quit, but because of the time I had spent with this dude and because of the adversity we'd been through, all it took was him coming and getting in my face and be like, hey, you ready? And I was like, motherfucker, all right, come on. And we went. And then by the next aid station, fucking I'd snapped out of it. And so thank God for that dude. But did you have anybody like that on your run?
Yeah, I can think of 2 instances. Before I lead into that, though, there was something I did different during this race.
Okay.
I went no music, no headphones.
Got to.
Just went raw with it.
Got to.
And I was like, the first 2 I'd had music. I was all like,
If you're an ultra or trail runner and you're wearing headphones, you're wrong.
Yeah. And so I went completely raw with it. And I didn't have a ton of conversations on the trail. I remember one vividly. And then there was something else I witnessed that changed things for me. But the first one was, there was this guy at like mile 10. And he's like dragging his leg. Just like pulling his leg along. And I walked up to him and I'm like, dude, you good? He's like, yeah, 90 miles to go. He's like, I've been training for this and like I fucked my knee up back there, but 90 miles to go. I was like, shit, that dude's hard, right? Like his head's still locked in.
Right.
And I ended up seeing him again about 5 miles out from the finish.
Really?
And he was still dragging that fucking leg.
No shit.
And I walked up on him and I was like, dude, you're incredible. And he's like, yeah, there was lots of opportunity for growth throughout the night. I'll put it that way. And he just kept fucking moving. I was like, this guy's a sociopath, right? But he kept me going. And then the other thing that was wild that I witnessed, there was at this race, and I'm sure it's happened at other races, but there was a person who was 100% blind being led by a rope.
Yep.
That finished the race.
No shit.
And like, you want something to reset your zeros and realize like, really, what are you bitching about? Your foot hurts, right? Your ass cheek is raw. Like what? Dude's fucking blind.
Yeah.
Doesn't know. Honestly, they could lie to him the whole time. Like, you're at mile 51 and he's really at mile 12.
Yeah.
Right? Like he has no clue where he's at, what he's got going on, how far. He can't see an aid station for hope. Fuck, he can't even see the sunrise for hope.
Yeah.
He's just in the fucking dark getting it over and over and over again. I saw that and I was just like, holy shit. Like, okay, we have to keep going. You know what I mean? So it was things like that for me. But there was no deep conversation for me in this experience. The deepest conversation I had was with a pacer that picked me up from 50 to 84.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the most beautiful conversations I've ever had in my life, especially with a grown man.
Right.
Because we got lost. It was cold. It was rainy. Missing certain things that home provides, right? And we shared some tears. We shared some laughs. We shared some fuck it's. We shared all that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I held the way while he took a shit, and he did the same for me. It was like that type of bonding.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find it anywhere
Exactly.
else. And so, you know, but those were probably the 3 biggest experiences that I remember.
Damn. Bro, you're making me want to go run 100 right now.
You got to.
I miss that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. The bonds you have with those people out there, they get it. You know what I mean? Most people I know in the ultra running community, bro, like I say it all the time, we're all recovering from something, but something different fueling you when you're out there willing to run those type of miles and log those miles for training plans and shit like that.
Yeah.
How many miles were you running a week training?
I averaged 70. So, and I had a few weeks over 100. August was my biggest month at 406.
Over 100.
Yeah. So I averaged 101 a week in August.
Right.
And we intentionally did that during the hottest month. Like, I was like, he's like, we're going to find out if we can break you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's someone like me, you tell me some shit like that. Like, okay,
Yeah.
like, let's play.
Right.
And so I went back to that a lot during the race too. I was like, bro, you ran 400 miles in Texas in the month of August,
Mm-hmm.
hottest month of the year. It was well over 100. It was pure hell. And you didn't quit then.
Yeah.
And so I went back to that a lot. But yeah, it's a lot of volume. And the crazy thing is, and you know this, I don't run 8-minute miles, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm logging 70 miles a week, that's 560 minutes. You know what I mean? Or whatever that math is.
I was going to say, how the fuck did you just
I
do
think
that
it's
now?
560. It's close to that. And so, but if you think about that, that's like 10 hours at an 8-minute pace.
Yeah.
If you're running 11-minute pace, that extra 3 minutes a mile is another 210 minutes, bro. So that's another 3.5 hours on your feet,
Yep.
which is a shitload.
Yeah.
And so that's what's so impressive when you see bigger guys carrying volume.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the mileage, bro. It's the time.
Yeah.
And it's not just the time on feed. It's the time away from the people you care about. It's the time away from your business. It's the additional recovery needed. It's the additional fuel needed. It's all these things. Mm-hmm. So when I see a big guy out there getting it, dude, every single time it fires me up.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, like our boy we see running around Town Lake.
It's my guy.
It's the dude.
Yeah, that's my guy.
There's a gentleman we see every time. He's out there every day. Every day, big boy, slow as hell, but he's always out there, dude,
Yeah.
grinding.
Yeah.
Love to see it. I forget what I was just going to say to you about the race, but what the fuck was I going to say? What was your after meal?
So it's pretty epic. The girl that I'm seeing essentially sent a picture of her credit card, and she's like, for you and all the boys, whatever y'all want.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, she knows the way to my heart. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we ordered like 3 large pizzas, 30 wings, those 3 of us, and, you know, a couple 2 liters, like Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, whatever, and smashed. And like, I remember, so we drove home after the race. I'm a believer in that. Like, let me get the fuck home.
Mm-hmm.
And we ate there. And I was like, guys, I'm going to take an Epsom salt bath, start my recovery now. And I was like, when I get back out, we're smoking our cigars, bro. We're celebrating. And I came out of the bathtub, dude, and they're both like,
knocked out.
pizza boxes open, just like dead on the couch. I'm like, shit. And you already know you can't sleep after that shit. Like,
I was just going to ask you.
so I'm just like up, you know what I mean? I'm just
Sleep.
like, fuck. Honestly, what it feels like, and this is the best way I can describe it, it feels like day 3 on a bender when you're like,
Yeah.
kind of anxious,
Yep.
kind of can't sleep, you're restless, your body hurts.
Yeah.
You're just like, fuck, like, what do I do? That's what it feels like after 30 hours on the trail. At least it does to me. And so, you know, but we ate that. The next morning we woke up and they're like, all right, McDonald's, right? McDonald's breakfast, which people can say whatever the fuck they want, but McDonald's breakfast is the shit.
It's good.
It's so good. So like we each had like 2 bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits, couple hash browns, their orange juice, like smash that. And in that moment I was like, all right, if I actually want to recover, like I'm gonna have to clean this shit up.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed it. It was great. And I think you even hit me up, bro. It was like, what was your after race?
Yeah, bro. That's what my ultras. That's what would get me through the last little bit.
Yeah.
I'd get to like that last third of the race, and then I start to, all right, what am I gonna have at? What did I earn to eat after this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I think so. For instance, on this one, I tracked caloric burn. It was 18,000 calories. So you can eat whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? And it was 200,000 steps. Like, I'm like, dude, I had no guilt going into that.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
But, you know, I think that the food thing is also a big conversation. And I think that running, you asked what running gave me. Another thing running's given me is more freedom in my selection of food.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I want to be healthy and I don't run like I do or I don't exercise like I do, then I have to eat differently.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, I want to fucking enjoy food.
Mm-hmm.
I want the burrito with the chips and guac. Oh, I got to run a couple extra miles to have that?
It's protein and carbs.
Yeah, I'm going to use it. But if I'm not running, that burrito with chips and guac, it's just a little different. You know what I mean? It might hang off the side of your ass.
Right.
But running's giving me that too.
Good.
Yeah.
Dude, I need to run an ultra.
Yeah, it's time.
Getting me going.
Well, there's another one coming up. You know this because we've talked about it during one of our runs, but February. Yeah.
I'll be there.
You will. And that's, speaking of I Am Redemption, that is the redemption race. That's the one I've dropped twice.
Oh, look, and that's going to be the one I'm going to be at.
Yeah. That's the one I've dropped twice. So we're coming for it.
So I'm going to come crew and pace you. And then there's another dude that's, who I've connected with through social media, who follows the podcast and everything like that. He just happens to be coming that race. So I'm going to catch a loop with him.
Yeah, it's going to be an epic time. It's an epic race. You know, I'm not one to shit talk, but like I am. Like, for instance, the Rocky Raccoon series is put on by a trail group.
Mm-hmm.
Aid stations are epic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, camp is epic. Everything's awesome.
Those are close friends of mine.
Yeah, like they kill it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an awesome experience. Dude, this race I went to last weekend, trash.
You know that?
They had like hot food at like one of the aid stations throughout the whole course.
Really?
Like, and it was really at the finish line. One other one might have had some ramen, but there wasn't like, it was PB&J, bro, for 31 hours. And like bananas, shit like that. You know what I mean? Pickles. And like, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That shit gets old quick.
Oh, yeah.
That was hell. That was another level of hell.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it completely blew me away. And like, when you're out there that long, honestly, people laugh at this, but a cup of fucking ramen sounds like a T-bone steak from fucking J Prime. You know what I mean? It's everything.
So let me paint a picture real quick, right? Run 60, 70 miles, right? You're fucking delirious. It's the middle of the night. You're cold. You're tired. You're lonely. You miss your fucking family. You question every step you're taking while you're doing it. And there's people who have taken it upon themselves to volunteer for the race, and they will go out into the middle of the fucking woods, into the middle of nowhere. And there's some people that will go above and beyond to make sure when you come into that aid station that you remember it. And they got music playing, and they got fucking all types of bells and whistles and fucking people cheering for you and shit. But they'll get out there with hot plates. They'll cook you hot fucking food. And so I can remember coming in those aid stations, dude. I caught chicken one time.
Mm-hmm.
They had little cups of chicken, and I caught that protein. Fucking brought me back alive. I didn't think I was gonna catch energy off chicken.
Yeah.
But I did. I remember the final aid station, dude. And I may have told you this before, but coming into the final aid station, I had just made it through the night. We both know what the night's like. Worst shit ever, but just make it through the night. I hit mile 90. It's the last aid station. I'm fucking dead. And I come in, and this woman was out there, and she had made banana bread.
Damn.
And, bro, I ate that piece of banana bread. It was so good. I had another piece of banana bread, and I don't know if it was probably the sugar or whatever, but, dude, it was like somebody put a battery in my back. I came alive. And so the guy Detroit is sitting there standing next to me, and he's dead too. But he sees I've got all this energy, and he's like, man, go while you got it. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving you. He's like, I'll see you at the end. Fucking go. I'm like, all right. And, bro, I start running, and by this time, most everybody's power hiking it in, you know what I mean? And, bro, I start, like, running at a good clip, probably, like, 8-minute miles, coming off the trail. People are, like, looking crazy. And then I remember hitting I hit the street, and obviously the camera crew's there, and once you hit the street, you got 7 miles to go. bro, that banana bread was carrying me the whole way. It was like lifted me up and going. And so I hit that road. I know there's 7 miles to go, and the band's there with the camera, and they're on me. And I'm sitting there trying to hold my shit together. I'm getting emotional, thinking about all this stuff that I've been through. And I'm a heroin addict that I got kicked out of the military and been to prison. Now I'm a year sober. I'm running a fucking 100-mile race. And, bro, it's coming, and I'm trying to hold my shit together. And so the race was the Pinocchio 100. It ends at a high school football stadium. And so I'm running in, dude, and I'm sitting there playing everything over in my head. And I remember that morning, my grandma told me, she was the one person, I didn't know if my family was watching or paying attention, but my grandma messaged, and she said, just so you know, if you ever get lonely or tired, know I'm following along at home with my iPad. And that was what I kept in my head the whole time. Like, every step I wanted to quit, but I'm sitting there like, could I really quit knowing my grandma's following along? And so, bro, I get to that, I mean, you know the story. I get to that high school football stadium, bro, and I could hear there's hundreds of people there. I could hear my friends yelling over them all. And it's just this surreal fucking moment for me. And I hit the track, come around the straightaway, and I look up, and it's my fucking mom and my sister standing there, dude. And it was the biggest surprise I've ever got in my entire life. And for them to know what we've been through as a family because of me and my addiction and mental health, to not know if they even knew that I was running this race or anything like that, but for them to be there and see that shit, dude, was just, and that be captured on a fucking film is the most wildest shit to me in life. But, bro, it's running that race, bro, is the hardest but the best and most special thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I would do it again 100 times over.
Yeah.
For sure.
No doubt.
You feel the same?
Yeah. Speak to your video, your documentary though, real quick. First time I watched it, I was in Colorado working, and I texted you. It was probably pretty late at night. I don't know, but like I finished watching it and I was emotional as shit, just because of, yes, the story is powerful, right? Beyond powerful. But when you ran up on your mom and your sister, bro, I fucking lost it. It's like, holy shit, because I know what that feels like on some level, right? To feel like, fuck, I haven't completely lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a way back.
Yeah.
Like I'm on that path apparently because they're here.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, thank God. So I know that feeling. So if you haven't seen his documentary yet, like you have to go watch it. It's not even like a conversation. Anybody who asks me anything about Ultra or fresh into addiction, I'm like, go watch this shit.
Thank you, brother.
But yeah, you asked me if it had changed my life. Was that the question? Sorry, I got sidetracked there.
I think so.
Yeah. So
just the race, symbolic in your life.
Yeah. So what I would say is this: I've been going through a season recently, and you know about it because I've opened up to you about it off camera. Some personal stuff with my own mental health struggles, trying to work through some things that are showing up that I really wasn't aware that was around. And what that looks like for me is a lot of anxiety that's recently popped up around personal relationships and all these different things. And so when I was out there, for instance, like so it was a 16-mile loop, and we did it 6 times. It was like 16 and a half miles.
Oh, really? Bro, that makes it even harder.
Oh, dude, it sucked. Because like point to point would be great, or out and back's even great, right?
Or
but
a loop?
6 loops.
Just one.
Yeah, one loop is great. But 6 loops, that's 6 times to quit, bro.
You have to understand you're looking at the same, for 100 miles, you're just looking at the same shit for 6 loops. It's completely different.
Yeah, and mentally it's just...
I would venture to say it's harder to run. It would be harder to run 100 miles around just a track than it would be on a point-to-point trail.
For sure. Yeah, there's no doubt.
The mental shit to it.
Right, because like you can't tune out to new views. There's no fucking new views. So what I would say is throughout these 16-mile loops, between the 4th and the 5th loop, so once you hit, like we've talked about it, but mile 60, man, mile 60 to 80, 85, there's a lot of questions in the air. Like, fuck, can I do this? Can I survive this? Can I keep
Why am I
forward?
doing that?
Right. Like all of those are just overwhelmingly like attacking you, if you will. And usually that happens during the night.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's nothing you see floating eyes off in the woods and shit, but like, you know, that's like coyotes or at Brazos gators. You don't know what the fuck. So it's a deep, dark time. But what it gave me is what I said earlier, is like the sun's gonna come up again.
Mm-hmm.
You just, sometimes in life you got to make it to the sunrise, and you got to hold on for dear life. Sometimes
It's a good metaphor, dude.
you got to make it to the sunrise, and that's what the race gave me. It was like, because when the sunrise fucking hit, it was like, okay, we're good, we're fucking good. I don't know what happened, God, whatever you want to call it, but it was like, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of the way. I didn't even stop on the last loop. They're like, dude, come in for like a couple minutes, like get refreshed, recharged. I was like, fuck that. Like,
I'm going. Yeah.
like, bring me my shit, please. I love you. Like, I'm fucking going.
Yeah.
And so I would say it gave me this outlook of the other thing that happened the week of the race that's important to share. I think I talked to you on Tuesday. It's Monday or Tuesday. And I was telling you what was going on, and I was like fucked up over it, to be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't eating.
I was scared for you.
I wasn't drinking. I wasn't sleeping. And I'm just thinking, holy fuck. Like, I worked 3 years for this. I'm in shape for it. And I'm gonna let this shit break me. And so for the next 3 days, I felt like that. But on the way to the race, I'll tell you what kind of man Sean is, because he's never going to toot his own horn. I will. He calls me on the way to the race. I'm driving down there by myself, going to meet up with my first pacer later on. And he gave me this source of fuel that I carried with me throughout the course of the race. And without going into too many details of what that source was, because it would expose a lot of different things, it's more or less like, do you want people to see you show up as X, or do you want people to see you show up as Y? This is your opportunity. That's what's in front of you. You make the choice. And so after that conversation, dude, I ate like a quesadilla, a cheeseburger, a thing of pasta. Like, I was just like, fuck it. Like, we're going to eat till we puke or hold on to it. So I started eating.
Just to get the calories?
Just to get calories, man, because I was empty. And you know, you should be carb loading. You need to be well ahead at this point. But I just started slamming food, slamming fluid. And I was like, he just gave me the fuel. He just gave me the key to, like, what is it going to be? Like, the story's even more epic when you're like, hey, I showed up to this 100-mile race, underfueled, I didn't sleep all week.
Right.
But guess what? We got it done.
Emotionally drained.
Yeah, nothing left in the tank. But that was the conversation. It was like the power of someone close to you knowing that you showed up broken, not at your best,
Mm-hmm.
and stuck it through.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell them?
Right.
And you know what happened? Exactly that. I mean, exactly that.
Let's fucking go.
So you're out there and you need a reason to keep going, or you're struggling. Talk to Sean. He picked me up, man.
Nah, dude. And to be honest, bro, that it really made me even lock into the race harder for you. Just knowing you were going through something, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Bro, I know how you've been training. I know you have been running. If that had not happened, you told me I got the race coming up, I'm like, oh, he got it. He's good. But when you're going through that, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, he's not in the headspace right now. He needs to be about to go try to tackle this shit, especially with all the emotions you're carrying from 2 previous races not going well. But I'm, dude, glad I said something good, dude.
No, you killed it. And it meant the world to me. And I leaned on it so many times. And it was like if I wouldn't have had that in a lot of those times in that darkness, like that specific thing to lean on because of what was actually happening exactly at that point of the race and who I was around, I'm not sure I'd be sitting here today. I probably wouldn't have came on the show if I'd have dropped, to be honest with you. I did a final episode of my podcast the day before I left and literally said, like, if this is the last time you see me, it's because I failed.
Oh, really?
My 100-miler or I'm dead. I love y'all. I'm like, signed off.
And your shows ain't dead yet.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. But I needed that pressure, bro. I needed that pressure. I needed the pressure you gave me. But I needed the pressure of like, okay, I'm not going to do any more speaking engagements for these kids if I quit. I'm not going to do my podcast anymore if I quit. How am I going to get on there and talk shit about showing up and not quitting and being fearless and not fucking do it? So I put all that pressure on myself intentionally. And I just would draw back to it when I was struggling. So
Right.
It is what it is. You take me, God, like that's noble. And dude, there was times in the race I was like, please, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just go ahead. because I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. Dude, I had, there was a lot of things that kind of took me away from running. Um, you know, relationship, I got out of a relationship. I had gotten injured. A bunch of things had happened, but the one thing that sticks out to me, I've dropped from one race. I ran countless ultras. I dropped from one race. I dropped from Bandera 100K my second time doing it. I overtrained for it. I had fucked up. I had a nerve fucked up in my foot. So it's 2 loops. I got the 31-mile loop done, and my foot was fucked. I wouldn't have been able to run the second loop, but I damn sure could have hiked it, and I pussed out. I fucking quit. There was another girl that the wheels were falling off. She was fucking hurting real bad. She was sick. I think she had pneumonia, and she was trying to run the race. Little did I know she's a elite ultra runner that's sponsored by Hoka. Her name's Cat B Rad or something on Instagram. But I sat there and talked with her, and I was like, oh, this is my excuse. I can quit. I'm just going to help her get in, and then, And so we walked in the last couple of miles. I got done with the first race. Bro, it's still to this day fucks with me. I went out and ran races since then. I've went out and won races since then. But that one fucking race eats at me because it's that one thing. So I'm so glad. I need, just like Rocky's yours, Bandera's mine. I need to get back out there and do Bandera again and fucking get another one in the books on that because you got me.
You can't start the next chapter when you're still reading the last one.
Right.
And that's what I feel like Rocky represents for me.
Yeah.
I want that next chapter. I'm ready for it. But I need to finish this one first. And yeah, 100%. I think in the same way that you look at it. So on my desk at home, and we might have talked about this, we might not have, I don't know. But like, I don't have like a trophy wall with my fucking medals hanging and all that shit, like, or whatever they give you after a race. I have my Ironman medal and my Ironman bib. And then my first marathon.
Did you do a full or half?
Full.
Full?
Yeah. No, I still haven't done a half. No interest in it, to be honest with you. I was like, fuck, why would I do that? But
I did the big one.
Yeah. But to your point, for the last 2 years, man, and I had to add another one to it last year, my office at home, like where my desk is at, I have both of my bibs from my DNFs sitting right by my computer. And it felt so good, though, to bring this bib home and put it right beside those two. And it's like, it's easy to show up. For me, like, I think it's easy to show up. I think it's easy to toe the line the first time because you don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard the second time. But, dude, I'll be honest, the third time, I was like, fuck.
Dude, I'm telling you.
It's a lot.
I get it.
Because it's like, I don't know. You're questioning everything. Are you able? Is this not in the cards for me?
And I get it right now as you're saying it like that. If I would have failed the third time you're out of it, I'm fucking done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't just keep taking this failure.
Yeah. And plus everyone, people can say whatever the fuck they want. You do care about judgment.
Yeah.
Like hearing that shit. Like, oh, he can't do it. He's fucking, whatever. It doesn't matter how many miles I ran in August. Yeah, I ran more miles than anybody I know. But if I show up and I DNF that race, that's what matters.
Do you care if I tell the story about you getting mad at me?
Nah, dude, it's a good story.
All right. Jacob, I'm going to tell you this story. For y'all that don't know, Jacob's behind the ones and twos over here. So Trip and I were out. Trip is a unique individual because this dude will latch on to something and use it as motivation, even when there's nothing there. But that's a fucking gift that you could do that because you can find motivation when it's not there. So we were out running. There was another person running with us, and he was telling me about the coach he's working with, and the coach is an elite runner and all this. And I've run quite a few ultras, and so he had told me about how he had DNF'd from 2 races, which is you dropped out of the race, and then he was saying he was running this one, and he's doing one in December, he's doing another race in February, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why are you doing them so close together? And he's like, well, we're doing this first one for speed, and I was like. And just in my head, I was like, that seems odd to me. Maybe this coach knows something that I don't. But if I am coaching somebody and they've DNF'd twice, I'm not going to be like, hey, let's go qualify for Boston. I'll be like, hey, let's get you one under your belt, and then we'll go for speed. And so I just questioned, like, what's the thought process behind that? Next thing I know, we're running, Trip won't talk to me. Next thing I know, Trip's up there like fucking 100 feet ahead of us, And I'm looking over at the girl running with us. I was like, is he mad at me right now? Like, did I say something? And then I went up to him and I was like, bro, like, are you good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And he just kept running. I was like, oh, this dude fucking hates me now. Like, what the fuck? What did I do? And then I don't think we talked for, I don't know, a couple of days or a week.
Yeah.
But then you hit me up and you're like, bro, I'm sorry. Fucking, I latched onto that for my fucking motivation. And then I got it. I was like, all right, that's all you needed. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad it served that purpose.
Well,
Bro, it's a unique ability to be able to latch onto that and use that shit.
it's a flaw too, though, man, because when it can cause damage to the people that you care about. You know what I mean? I think I would have been better off to pick like a random stranger walking down the street and be like, man, did you hear that guy? He just told me I was a fucking loser, and use that. Like, let me be pissed at him.
Yeah.
So, but that also speaks volumes to you. I called you a week later. You answered. I just shot you straight. I was like, this is what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
You're like, bro, I love you. It's all good. Like, when we running.
Because I respect that shit.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, I did. I latched onto it. I remember it. Because honestly, that day I was feeling like shit. I was hurting. Didn't want to fucking be there. Saturdays are the longer runs. I'd already logged probably 50 miles during the week. I'm feeling like shit. My mental's tired, you know what I mean? And you're just pushing. And that came up and I was like, oh, in my head, how I twisted it was like, oh, he doesn't think I can fucking do it. Okay. Well, let's see like if he can keep up on my 50-mile legs right now. You know what I mean? That's where my head went. And so we just start clipping. We were on Congress.
Mm-hmm.
We ran all the way up to the Capitol and came back. And then, but yeah, that definitely happened. And I apologize for being you.
I apologize.
But at the same time, like, you can create what you need to create in your own head.
Yeah.
Kobe's talked about it a lot. I know your relationship there.
I fuck with Kobe.
I know.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, he's the one for you.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan did it a lot, but it was this creation of adversity. And it'd be like on the basketball court, and like somebody would say some shit that really wasn't even like a big punch. Like, he's not talking about your mom and none of that.
Right.
And he'd be like, oh, that fucking guy said, my mom's a hoe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he's going to demolish him for 50. But that never happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I kind of clung on to that. Like, when I'm down or I'm tired, I'll create some wild shit in my head. But it's also fucked me up too at times. Like, I'll create some shit and be like, is that real? Yeah. So, yeah.
I really hate him.
But yeah, that really happened.
It's good. Bro, but like you said, you called me and fucking took on. Like, I ain't got no problem with that. There's another individual that's, I've become good friends with. And I did an event not long ago. We were doing the promotion for the podcast and this and that. And my ultra running coach, Joe Presidis, he started Tejas Trails, he started Rocky and all those. This dude is one of the best dudes I know, right? He's one of those people in my life. I don't care who you are. If you have a bad word to say about him, I can't fuck with you. Mm-hmm. I just can't do it because I know where this dude's heart is. Bro, he almost lost that company. He almost lost Tejas Trails because he loved people so much giving shit away. Mm-hmm. So he would end up selling the company because that was his issue. He ultra coached me for years. He's coached elite people, this and that. Bro, he never charged me a dime, ever. He never asked a thing from me. He just wants to be there for me. That dude is untouchable in my life. And so this other dude had become a good buddy of mine. And apparently we were at the event. These two kind of hit it off. They were talking this and that. And so they were going to go get lunch. And so I was excited, like two of my friends hitting it off. Awesome. So they went out to lunch, and then I ended up talking to that guy, asked him how lunch went, and he proceeded to start basically trashing Joe, my coach. Saying that he wants something from him and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm just like, man, like, I just need to tell you, like, you couldn't be more wildly off with what you're saying about this individual. And then, like, he started, like, getting aggressive with the way he was talking to me. And I'm going to be honest, this is not a person that would ever speak to me like that if we were in person.
Right. You're
speaking to me like that because we're on the phone. You're getting all aggressive. And so I ended up hitting him up after that. We didn't talk for a little bit, and I ended up hitting him up trying to make peace. And I was like, bro, look, man, like, we could be cool and all that. We just need to have a conversation first. And he sent me a voice memo back, and he was like, oh, yeah, we can meet and have a conversation. I don't really have much to say, but, I'll give you the space to say whatever you need to say. And I was like, cool. That's all I ever needed to know. We'll never speak again.
Yeah.
I don't got if you can't man up for your side. I've never had any problem taking accountability for what I do. Because until you take accountability, you're never going to get through it. So I'll admit my faults right now. I fuck up every day, all the time. I take accountability to my wife every day. I don't do much right in her eyes anyways, but I'm kidding. But yeah, dude, that's why I respect a man that could fucking stand up and be like, oh, I was fucking wrong. I did that shit. Like, that's nothing to me.
Well, and honestly, shout out to 12-step program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure without that.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe.
Because this isn't a 12-step guy.
But it's like, that shit'll eat at me.
Yeah.
Because once you gain the awareness that you're fucking up or you're doing something wrong, once you have that awareness, it eats at you. It's like, fuck, man, like, I got to make this right. Like, if he'll hear me, I got to make it right. Like, I just need to tell him the truth. We'll see what happens. I didn't live that way before 12-step, though. I was like, fuck that guy, I'm not talking to him. Like, I'm just going to avoid that. I'm like, fuck.
Do you know what it is, bro? Like, somebody finally set the bar for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what it's like. Nobody ever sets the bar for you. You don't know when you're acting fucked up or when you're not acting fucked up.
Yeah, and I think for younger men too, a lot of times you look at how your father handled things, right? That's your view or vision on.
This is literally what I'm working on in therapy right now.
Oh, dude, we can have a long talk about childhood experiences with dad stuff, but I always felt like my actions were okay because that's what he would do. I was like, fuck it, that's what my dad does. Like, he's fine, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
I should have leaned more into what my stepdad did. Totally did.
Same.
Fucking
same.
Best man I've ever known.
Same.
And like, if I would have leaned into his ways and methods, like, life would have turned out different. But I wouldn't change it because I also wouldn't be here today.
Yep.
I'd probably be, I don't know, in New York on Times Square doing some shit I hated. So like, I'm glad that it all went the way that it went. But I wanted to make my dad proud my whole life. And so anything that felt like I was getting a sense of pride from him, I attached to it and just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. Unfortunately, that was like drinking. That was womanizing. That was deferring responsibility at all times, creating like a manipulative way to be innocent at all times. And it led me to a shitty place. So like now, but same as you, bro, I literally fuck up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna keep fucking up. Like I know that. That's part of life. If you're doing shit, like you can not fuck up and go sit in the house all day and not talk to anybody and like not do anything, not touch anything, not grow, not change. But like that's not the life I want either. I'd much rather push the limits, fuck up along the way, and then have the opportunity to like make amends, if you will. So for me, it's always been about, like, especially in recovery, if you want genuine, real people around you, then you fucking better be genuine and you fucking better be real.
Yep.
If not, you're not going to have those people around you.
Yeah.
And so I try my best to stay in that.
Yep.
And I fall short at that too. So.
Right. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, somebody's listening to this, one of the young people from back in your hometown or whatever like that, they heard this, and your story really resonates with them, but they're going through a tough time themselves. What would you say to them? What's your advice?
Man, it's a great question, because it happens a lot. And every time, honestly, like I still seek mentorship. So I don't want anyone to ever think that I have all the answers. I don't know shit, right? But I know people that know shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I lean on people. Dude, I called you before and been like, bro, I got this situation.
Yeah.
A couple different times.
I was going to say multiple times.
And like, I don't know exactly how to show up in it. And you've showed up for me, right? Or you've reached out to me and be like, hey, there's this guy or person that maybe you could connect with that might benefit them. That's what recovery is. Yeah. It's connection. It's connecting people where it works, where it fits. And so if a kid reaches out to me, what's really difficult, and this has become sort of a calling for me, there are not a lot of resources for the youth where I'm from in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? They'll be like, oh, he needs to go to juvie or like suspend him from school. I'm like, you're just fucking him up worse. There's no rehabilitation in juvie. There's no rehabilitation. You make him sit at home all day. What the fuck you think he's going to do?
Yeah.
So for me, my calling and purpose for these kids is I want to create somewhere that's designed specifically for that,
Mm-hmm.
for youth. Like if they're struggling, they go there, there's resources. There's people that they can talk to, that can help them, that they can respect and listen to. Because right now, it happened last week, kid reached out, opens up, like hit me in my DMs. I need to talk, right? I'm like, fuck. So, okay, here's my number. He calls, goes into the story. He's become addicted to coke in the last 7 weeks. He graduates in May. He's got a 3.5 GPA. He's got a college scholarship. He's like, I can't fucking quit. I can't stop.
In high school?
In high school.
Wow.
Can't fucking stop. And he's like, what do I do?
And you reached out for help?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Because of this, one of the speeches.
Yeah. I know, but
Yeah.
that just shows that shows the power of one of the speeches, that a kid
Right.
is going to reach out for help.
Yeah. And that's why if you're out there and you have a story, you fucking tell it.
Mm-hmm.
Set that shit to the side. It ain't about you. It's about the kid. So either way, in that moment, I was like, fuck, what do I do? Who do I connect? I start calling people from home. No one knows what to do. He's like, bro, don't tell the school system if you can help it. Like, that's going to fuck my shit up. So, and I'm like, yeah, I got you. I'll figure something else out. Fortunately, with technology, I was able to get him plugged into a Zoom meeting, right? Like his kid's like, but he was willing. He's like, whatever I need to do. And I was like, here's the Zoom link. Here's the meeting ID. I was like, I want a selfie of your ass in this meeting.
Good shit.
And I was like, if you can't do that, don't hit me back, bro. I was like, because I don't have time for people who aren't willing to fucking change. Well, sure shit, he sent me that selfie.
Did he?
Went to that meeting. Been in touch with him a couple times over the last couple weeks. He's doing better.
Good.
And so I try to connect people. You ask the question, like, what do I tell a kid? I think about who I know
Mm-hmm.
that could help them.
Yeah.
And that's what recovery is. Again, if you meet someone who's in recovery who's not willing to fucking help, fuck them.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. And I'll tell them that to their face. Like, you mean you got saved, you lived, you made it through, and you don't want to fucking help nobody?
Yeah.
That's fucked up. Because there's plenty of people that are in the ground that would take that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I try to think of it that way. I don't have the answers, but people around me do. And I try to connect these kids with someone who can help them.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah.
That's good shit. Fun question for you.
Yep.
Hypothetically speaking, tonight you're walking out for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the World.
Yep.
What's your walkout song?
Oh, it's a great fucking question. So I have a couple genres.
Okay.
So if it's rap, I'm gonna come out to Set It Off by Boozy.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah, that one right there gets me flamed up. I might listen to it on the way home today, honestly. Cause a crash on I-10. If it's rock,
Traffic's gonna be slow, so don't do that.
yeah. If it's rock, like heavy rock, oh, that's tough. Probably Alice in Chains. Maybe Godsmack. But dude, the pump up song that got me the most fired up from like a walkout ever in the history of the UFC
Mm-hmm.
was Connor coming out. It was like, I think they're at TNT Arena or something, or T-Mobile, whatever.
Comes out to what, Notorious?
Well, it transitions to Notorious. So it starts off.
Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
starts
what you like?
yeah. Dude, when that went off, like I got chills on my spine. Everyone was like, I mean, they went fucking wild. And then Biggie hits.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hell yeah. So.
Bro, don't get me wrong. Connor's entrance is electric. But how the fuck do you not come out the bagpipes?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
sure.
come out the bagpipes. That'd give you chills.
What about you, bro? What's your walkout song?
It changes. If I was gonna go rock or metal, I'd probably have to go Metallica, Black Album, something off the Black Album, Wherever I May Roam, something like that. Or old school, like For Whom the Bell Tolls, some shit like that. Or Tool. Tool get me there too. Rap is hard because I'm such a vast fan of rap. What would my number one? There's an artist named Don Tripp. He's got a song off a mixtape called I think it's called Macho Madness, but it's called it's called Proof. The song's called Proof, and that shit gets me going.
Mm.
Well, there's another one called Chirac by Montana of 300. That shit'll get me going too. Did you change your music when you got sober? Ever?
The only thing I added to the mix was there's probably 4 Christian songs on my run playlist that I like. Graves into Gardens. I love that fucking song.
Okay.
And it's essentially just like talks about it's redemption.
Yeah.
It's I ain't dead yet. It is all that in a song.
Right.
So that's really the only thing I added to the mix. I've listened to hip hop my whole life. I've listened to country music my whole life. I've listened to rock my whole life. I love oldies. Like I can get down to like, you know, any type of oldies. I just grew up around it. So like
Skinner and shit.
That side of it, and like oldies, like, you know, like probably like Temptations type shit.
Oh, okay.
Like I like that.
My stepdad put me on all that.
Yeah.
Isley Brothers, Temptations,
Good shit.
Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Dude. Well, brother, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on. It's an absolute honor. I can't wait to have you on again. You might need to be a recurring guest.
Yeah.
We need to make this a thing.
Yeah.
For sure. We're too aligned and we got too much to talk about. We could easily fill up another couple hours.
Yeah, no, we didn't even scratch the surface today, which is good.
We'll get it again.
Yeah, sounds
Dude.
good, brother. I appreciate you.
Dude, love you, man.
Love you too.
The way we like to wrap up the show, if you'd be so kind, take a look in your camera, throw